This is the beginning of Lecture 16, Part 2. In Lecture 16, Part 1, we answered the question, is all UV radiation the same? And it's not. There's a spectrum of UV radiation of varying wavelength and varying energy, just like any other region of the electromagnetic spectrum. We looked at how the UV light is filtered in the atmosphere by oxygen and ozone, and that oxygen will filter out the higher energy ultraviolet light, UVC region, but not the lower energy UV light in the B region because the chemical bond is too strong to be broken by the UVB. However, fortunately we do have ozone present, which does do a good job of filtering most, not all, but most of the ultraviolet light in the UVB region. Now, the reason why we talk about oxygen getting most of the UVA is because, or excuse me, UVC, because oxygen is, the second most abundant gas in the atmosphere. The first most abundant gas in the atmosphere, which we haven't mentioned yet, is nitrogen, and nitrogen doesn't do a good job of filtering B or A because nitrogen actually is held together by a triple bond. The nitrogen in the atmosphere is held together by a triple bond, which is an even stronger bond. And so the UV, it's way too strong of a bond to be broken by UVA or UVB. All right, so this particular graph is showing the biological sensitivity of the different energy or different wavelengths of light. And you see that people, they're very, very sensitive to C, but C doesn't make it here, so we don't have to worry about it. But the sensitivity, the higher the energy, the more damaging the radiation. All right, so the biological sensitivity, this is the way the scale works is the sensitivity is how much damage does that particular wavelength or energy of ultraviolet light due to DNA. That is, to what degree is are the bonds within DNA broken? And you see that it's a relative scale, but it's a log scale. So a lot more damage is done to DNA within the UVB region at the lower end of the spectrum around 280, and then it varies. And then down the UVA does very little damage to DNA. So the biological sensitivity then is, is it going to damage DNA? If you damage DNA, one of two things can happen. You can either cause genetic defects, that would be damaging DNA in an egg or a sperm, or that's going to be carried on to the next generation, or you can actually damage DNA within cells that are replicating within a living organism that causes cancer. So it's one of two things, because the regular control mechanisms within the cell get disrupted when certain DNA is disrupted that can then lead to cancer. So when we see DNA damage, the type of damage is either genetic damage or cancer-causing damage. All right, so this is just to show you that yes, within the UVB region it is very damaging, and it's a good thing that we are filtering out that UVB radiation. The UVA makes it down, but it's not such a big deal because it doesn't do as much damage. Okay.